What's up, guys? This is Fonzarelli Fellhand, and we are getting back into the Watt game. I know a bunch of you are like, oh, thank goodness. Now, as a funny note, I accidentally, for some reason, clicked the play button overlay. Unfortunately, we're stuck with it. Moving on. We're going to get into some giveaways here as time progresses. I still have loads of codes. But, you know, I'm kind of trying to shift my focus from State of Decay 2 back to World of Tanks because people keep asking me, when are you going to post more World of Tanks? Okay, alright, you got it. This is it. We're doing it. It's happening right now. So, getting right into the game, guys. We are in Tippy, the T50-2. We call this tank Tippy because it tips over a great deal. Moving on, we are on Mrovanka. And we're going to see if we can't get into some trouble. Right now, I'm kind of passively spotting the mid. Well, I guess it's not that passive if I am discovered. It's more like active. And essentially, guys, here, what I'm going to do is run up on this little ridge line here, just buzz them one more time, and then drop back down. Unless they're at a high elevation, it's very, very unlikely they're going to get a shot in at me. But you know what? Anything can happen here. It looks like we were on one track there for a second, but we're okay. Now, if you check your background here, my friendly background, we don't have a lot of forces over here. So we have to play this very, very cautiously because we can't go in that much, because if the Reds do decide to roll us, we are just going to be more or less screwed. So I go ahead and decide to switch flanks to see if I could possibly get something going on the opposite flank, our right flank. Because I know for a fact there's a number of tanks over there, and I just kind of want to see if I can get them where they're fairly soft. Now, guys, if you've ever watched my no-scope training, the gentleman was going directly away from me. The first round I thought I could hit him, but it looks like RNG wasn't in my favor. But whenever they're stationary and you're moving, for the most part, if you're fairly close, you have a reasonable chance to hit. Now, we are running APCR because this is a particularly crunchy tank. You never really want to, to assume you're going to get a penetration with a tank like that, especially, a few tiers above you. A very crunchy tank in general. So just keep that in mind. Moving on, essentially what I'm doing, the guys who play light tanks immediately knows what I'm doing, and I am searching for artillery because I was very aware that while I was rolling the mid, that there's a chance they could scope me and put some rounds down range. But it looks like the artillery players realized the primary push was going to be on our left flank, their right, so they followed the primary push, which was extremely important for their survivability. If not, they would be dead already. Moving on, essentially what I'm going to do here, guys, run down the K line, do a hook left, and try to come up behind them, spot some things, because as you can see here, the Reds for the most part are engaged in a pincer maneuver. We have some gentlemen on all three sides, and it's not looking good for them as a team, because if they had went ahead and just continued their push through our left flank, they'd have had a lot more success versus just kind of probing and then getting buttoned down in some combat. This is an important element in the Malinovka map. If you guys remember me saying, as a scout medium light tank, you roll the mid, and then what happens is if you can light up enough of them and they take enough fire, they eventually don't make it up to the top of the hill because they're already considered engaged. And this is exactly what's happened with these guys right here. They're hung up. They don't necessarily want to push forward, and now they're taking shots from the rear in addition to the side, and it looks like they've kind of cleared out the front a little bit. We're doing some long range firing here on the Minuteman, trying to make some things happen, running a little bit of APCR into them. And guys, at that kind of range, you really have to run APCR, and especially if it's a heavy tank, because you have slim to no chance to penetrate him with your standard rounds. Now, the side rear is a whole different animal, but from the front, yes, absolutely. And I think I was actually firing on him from the front. Now we're getting into the artillery area right here. As you can see, I've switched back to your standard AP round. And we're, now that we're kind of stationary, I'm not running and gunning. I am scoping the rounds in, and I am using my cover there. And in those cases, guys, what you want to do is just essentially have the reticle just hanging over the side of the building, over the cover, what have you, so that if anything goes pear-shaped, it doesn't take much for you to back up. You're concealing a great deal of your tank. It's just, a very, very good deal for those of you that are defensively minded. And who in the right mind wants to get shot? Not me. We are taking on this Tier 7 GW here, putting some good work in on him. The team is disintegrating for the most part. The Reds are, and now we are not necessarily in mop-up mode, but we are getting there. They can still pull this off. I've seen a lot of different games pulled off. They can still manage to pull this off, so we have to be cautious. We have to stay on our toes. I didn't think this guy was looking at me. I thought he was looking at the people who were firing on him from the front. He was looking at me. I look at the map, and I ram into this tank like a moron. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Mistakes were made. Yeah, so don't check your map. I'm not even sure if I hit the map by accident. I mean, it's possible. I'm being very cautious here. We only have a few guys left on the map. I want to farm as much damage as I can before it's time for me to go out. I'm putting a round right here, and just then I notice he turns and looks at me, and man, that was one of those turn, right shoulder, pull the trigger, and it just manages to connect. There's nothing I could have done. But you know what? That's fine. It happens. You can't win every single one. But in the end, we managed to do a lot of damage. I mean, we did a lot of good overall. We didn't necessarily stack a whole lot of kills. But you know what? I would honestly sometimes rather have damage over kills, just to increase that DCR, that damage caused received statistic on the World of Tanks website. That's just me personally. KD, it's a whole different animal. Moving on, guys, we're going to go ahead and speed this up, get to the end of it here. In the end, we managed to make some things happen. They did manage to pull out the game, and we did fairly well, back in the saddle here, playing some World of Tanks. We, as a team, did manage to win that game, which is fantastic news. And we did fairly well as far as the damage is concerned. 1807 with 166 assists, almost 2,000 damage. We got very, very close. We weren't top of the board there, but we did our part. Guys, I really hope you enjoy. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you guys next time.